Can't remember what happens here. Come on, Gibbles. So the kick can definitely shove here. How many bigs is that? Oh no, it's a lot of bigs. He can. I think calling's the only play actually. Oh, he can shove. He can shove his 4 million in the pot. I think that shoving and calling are probably like relatively close to each other. King Queen just a really nice hand to shove. Like if you run some equities against calling ranges and like including blockers for hands that have to fold. It's King Queen's just like a really nice 4-bet shove hand. It's like a really, really nice one. But it's also super, super nice to take a flop because at these stack sizes, if you hit a king or a queen, that 1/3 of the time that you do, then it's basically the nuts. So it's a close one. It's just I guess the kick probably thinks that Gibbler has a stronger 3-betting range than like I would in this spot. Interestingly enough, he probably puts Gibbler on the exact hand that he has because there's an ace out there and he has a king and a queen. And there's a jack out there. He has an equal chance of having kings, queens, or jacks. So, yeah. I think Gibbles should probably check. I don't know. He's just not getting any value from anything ever. Yeah, I could probably bet. Betting seems safe. And I do not know what the kickers think about. It makes absolutely zero sense to me. Like, he just can't have any bluffs. Like, anything will just, like, c-bet the flop or c-bet the turn. I don't think people are going to be playing super, super tricky here with just, like, 10-9. I think they'll just c-bet the flop and give up if nothing happens. It's pretty good hand to 3-bet here with as the kick, I think. On this flop, it's a pretty good hand to check raise. You have to be careful here not to check raise too often against really good players because if you check raise all of your gut shots, then they'll start exploiting that. But you don't need to worry about that because you're not going to play like 1,000 hand sample on the final table of Scoop. So if anyone's getting too involved in balance, try not to. Try to just play your hand at the situation. Because this is such a high equity spot, these pots are all worth like 5, potentially 6 figures, then you don't want to be thinking, oh, I might be unbalanced for the next time I do this. So yeah, I like his check raise. I think it's really good. Sizing's maybe a bit big. Kind of like if Gibbler calls here, kind of the stacks are a bit weird, where there's like 4.3 in the pot and then you have 7 behind. So, like, do you just shove the turn with your high hands? Do you bet small? It's a weird one. You should always try and plan ahead for the pot size if you can. It's a lot easier to do online than it is live because you just have the numbers in front of you. But always try and aim for something like 1 to 1.5x if you want to be shoving a turn or betting a turn, or something bigger than like 2.5x pot.
Yeah. And if you're gonna have 2.5x pot, then just break it into 2 units then for turn and river, right? Whereas when you have exactly 2x, it's hard to find the right unit size for. So this is pretty. We got a little royal flush draw here versus a little top pair.
A little royal.
A little big royal flush draw.
Big flush draw actually is very fine. I would imagine checking or betting here is fine. I would probably check. It's just like you're not going to get folds from anything better. You're not really going to get calls from worse stuff. Maybe an ace X, but you can hit some pretty disguised turns. You might be able to get him to bluff with something that's just like 10-9s and jack-9s, and check calling is just kind of nice. Also, betting to go to pot when you got so much equity is never the worst. So, whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Gibbler turning his hand face up as a king.
Charlie trying to make light conversation in the middle of a 4 million chip pot.
People didn't want to talk as much as I thought they might.
I wonder wonder why.
They're just come on, even when they're not in a pot, I was expecting a bit more, just everyone being in a great mood. Other people, Connor was getting way into it. But I don't know, it's just such a good moment. It was it's going to be the best moment of someone's life, and not the best, but it's going to be top 5, and maybe that for 3 people. So I think it's just for me at least, just you got to squeeze that happiness EV out of these situations.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure both your Sunday Million win, because that was a pretty epic day, and Ben's Sunday Million win are still on my top 10 list of best moments of life. Because one day I wrote down the top 10 and I'm putting a few more, and you guys were both there. Because I was just so proud of you guys for going from knowing barely anything, just be yeah, we're on top.
The views is pretty good up here. You want to come up?
Cool. Yeah, that's funny. Always gonna 3-bet. Gotta do it to a size where he thinks I can have loads of air, 9-3 off, because the kick is the type of person that might go crazy with ace-5 if he feels like it. But he's strange. He's crazy, but then sometimes he'll do something that's totally anti-crazy, super nitty. And I think he's just got a lifetime of doing it, so his intuition for it's pretty good.
Maybe it depends what song he's listening to.
I hope that's it.
Yeah.
That was the thing when I used to grind 2-5 Zoom loads. I'd be oh, it's a calm Tuesday. I want to try and, I've got pretty aggro stats, but today I'm gonna calm down, play super tight, and I just put on just classicals from fucking Bach or something, and then it'd be Freaky Friday. Let's get the 20% 3-bets from all positions going.
Yeah, my biggest punts definitely came when I was listening to dubstep every single time.
You think it doesn't affect you, but it does. God damn, it does. I would love to see some graph of people's 3-bet stat, and then the type of music that they listen to, or percentage of the time that they listen to. Oh no, so you could do people's 3-bet stat versus the beats per minute of their songs. Lifetime. That'd be such a sick one. If only. So yeah, Gibbler here, I think taking not the best hand. He used the unsuited example of the one that I gave. But whatevs, if he thinks the kick is limb folding too much, then do whatever you want. It's fine. I think c-betting there's probably it's close actually. I don't mind either way. I think c-betting small or checking's fine. It hits the kick's range super hard, but then he has all of the ace-x that he might have, and then he has all of the king-x, and some just suited jack-x if he has that, jack-6 suited, that he's going to fold to a small bet and that might start bluffing. But whatevs. You can do whatever you want. Plus, if you check back, you can start trying to rep stuff on turns, maybe.
I think it's important that people realize when options are close that it's not the end of the world to go one way or the other. Because I've had moments where I'd be oh my God, I don't want to make the wrong move. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I'd pick one, and Cal would be Evan, man, the EV between them is really small. So the fact you're putting so much emotion into it is actually lowering your long-term EV, because you're taking too much stress over a decision that it's pretty close either way. It's not a huge deal. Don't make it out to be the end of the world, because that's going to drain your reserves for when you need them later for the actual meaningful decisions in the tough
For sure. But it is also a good practice to try and think of all the small little details that do impact the decision.
Yeah, but to think about them without getting emotionally
yeah,
wrapped
for
up.
sure. Go on, Epiphany, bet like there's no tomorrow. He's checking Yes! That is exploitative, because people shouldn't really be checking that board as Gibbler. He should be betting that 100%. But I was having none of it. I was fuck you, man. I'm going to fold you off your queen highs on the flop and ace highs on the turn. Everything else on the flop, actually, yeah. Good old Gibbles. It is really a underrated skill. and it's something that one can hone throughout their whole poker career and never be able to perfect. It's just like adjusting to different players' tendencies, especially on final tables. I remember I had this one time when I the first 25K that I won, and there was this one Russian guy that was every single pot he played, he would just like 2x pot every single time. Every like flop turn river, 2x pot, shove river. And there were so many people that would just like call the flop, call the turn, and then just fold the river. And it's like, dude, that's like 3/4 of your stack going, chill out. But they'd be like, oh no, and I had a check call hand. And yeah, against him, I was just like, I actually made really good friends with him. So like, we just kind of like soft played each other a bit, which was very relaxing. So this hand quickly, with an overpair, I'm just going to be going big. I think it's a board that I can get away with going big. Could definitely try and go small to try and get some floats out of like king fives, ace fives, things like that. But at least on the turn, if the board doesn't get too ridiculous, then I'm just going to be going for it. Even on that turn, that he doesn't have many. When I go half pot, he probably doesn't have king five, king six. So the only king X he has is king X of hearts specifically, and then king 4, king 7, king 8, which isn't that many, even though it sounds like quite a few. So it's pretty much a brick. We can have some king X. It's good to keep in mind. But yeah, I'm liking it. Getting that value from the pair plus straight draws, and then if the river, say, was like a jack or king again, I'd probably go small on the river against Gibbler, or maybe big. That's close. But just trying to, whatever size you think would be best called by like the pair plus straight draws, that's kind of only like a shitty one pair on the river. You have to just like intuitively think what would those call, because that's such a huge part of his range when he goes check call. And this is a call from Gibbler, and it's also a call from us. So if Gibbler goes with it, then we have to fold. If not, then we go with it.
What do you think is the worst pair he should go with here?
Fives, I think.
Same.
So with that elimination, you're guaranteed 967K, right? And you're playing for about a 400K difference because it's 1.35 mil on top.
Right. I remember actually gobble, and he's straight in there with the want to look at numbers. You should probably play a few hands and be like, all right, shall we look at? I guess we should. I mean, like, whatever. I don't really care. He's like straight in there.
So you feel like him going to it right away gave you a little bit of leverage for the discussion part, because you're like, oh, he's really wanting to make a deal, as opposed to being like, I'm kind of into it but not super into it. So him being more invested, you're like, okay, then I'm gonna take a little bit more.
That would be part of it. I mean, honestly, like, it's not a huge deal whether he does it then straight away or not. But yeah, I definitely, you want to, if you want to play the kind of like hard ass, I want to make a good deal strat in your poker career, which is a super fine way to do it, then you want to be trying to get those small conversational edges. There is also like a lot of my poker career, if I was against someone that I liked and I thought they were doing good things with their money, I'd just be like, whatever, man. Like, I'll even give you a slightly better deal. Because I don't want to, because poker's so predatory so much of the time, it's nice to just, take some nice moments out of there and share them with some good peeps. But because I didn't know him, I went for it. I thought I could get quite a lot.
That's pretty cool that you're thinking about like the overall global value of the money. And so if it's in the hands of someone who's going to have a more positive impact, you want them to have more, versus if it's someone who's just going to hoard it, keep it for themselves, or put it towards the not best things, maybe the vicey things. You're like, no. That belongs more in my hand. I'm going to have a great net impact by having it.
Sure. I for sure would rather make a good deal on my end against someone that spends their money in clubs than or like pit games than somebody that is like donates to charity. And
I actually feel like that. I wrote that 3 years ago when I got back from Fallsview, the year before I won, when I'm like, okay, we could totally do it. And that like the values that most gripsters have who have gone through all the videos and done the self-improvement stuff, they're the kind of people who would do good things with the money. So it's our service and our duty to kind of go get the money so we can convert that kind of lead into gold in terms of what the dollars will be turned into.
Yeah, grips, because it really does kind of attract I would say like the most like spiritual people. I hate using that word for such like in such a vague situation, but like
Say
like more complete people, more aware.
Again, it kind of like makes other people sound unaware. It's a difficult spot to find a good word in, but you've probably done so much good in just like, for me, like I'm hoping to do a lot with charity, and I've made a lot more money because of grips than if I hadn't found grips. There's just gonna be like countless other people out there who would have helped as well. That even if it's not for charity, like helping their family, helping their friends, things like that. So there's gonna be a lot of good karma coming your way, dude.
Thanks, man. You're like, this is partially some good karma. And that's actually a big thing too. Like you said, sharing it with the family. When you can share money with people who can benefit more from it, that comes back to you too. Because now your surrounding, now your community, now your friend group is doing better. So they can support you more. Like there's definitely this beautiful thing when you invest in the people who you're going to spend a lot of time with and just help them get to a place of goodness, especially if they're in a low place, which is why I understand like charity. So you take the people who are in like a really tough spot and get them to a spot where they have the basics covered so they can actually start to evolve, learn, thrive, do some of the higher stuff they can't do when they're just in pure survival.
Yeah, no, I think that's so true. Once you get them to the point of independence where they don't have to be thinking about living and they can think about doing, then just like the possibilities are endless. I've really only played poker a couple of times since Barcelona. I played in Rosvadov and then I did a couple of Twitch streams. Huddled whispered talking. We were doing some huddled whispered talking. I actually I went for the ask for something ludicrous. So then that's where the basis point is, and then when he makes his offer, which is like less ludicrous, then it doesn't seem as bad as if I had just asked for what ended up being the deal. If I'd asked for that initially, I think we probably would have found somewhere in between like 0 and that. So it's just like a pretty classic haggling technique there, just overshooting it. And yeah.
So like you want it to be absurd, not to the point where it's obvious it's absurd, but where it's like, this guy really believes he deserves 25K more. All right, well, 10K. And you're like, yeah, I guess 10K is okay. I guess it's okay.
GG, GL, WP, LOL. Nice GL, you too, poker players. We know how to talk.
Oh, how did you feel about the streaming experience?
Fucking love it, man. It's just so fun. So like the last one that I did, I was just like singing for a bunch of it. Like there were some people getting pissed off, being like, I'm gonna stop watching this. I don't care.
Go ahead.
It doesn't change my life. And then we got deep into people's personalities, like helped some people like therapeutically. Like I spoke deeply about my life. Everyone was just like really supporting each other, and just like there's this one guy, shout out to him. I think he's called Jay. His Instagram name is Jay Lovey. And he ended up being the mod, and he was just like the most supportive person. And I was going through a pretty rough time the second time I did it because some stuff with Hannah, who we're now good, but at the time it was really tough. And he was just like genuinely such a supportive person. And then we stayed in contact afterwards, and had some pretty solid times in the stream. And we got into loads of deep philosophical, political topics. Got into some debates and did some cool stuff. I think I wouldn't be able to do it full time, anywhere near full time. I think once every few months is good for me, and I might continue doing it.
I think it's cool because you really get to go deep with people, with yourself, and with your story. And like you said, you meet some cool people. I met some really amazing people from the mods of my stream just because you're there every week and they're really getting to know you. And so the ones who really resonate with you, they stay. And the ones who don't resonate, like they go away and you're like, cool. So, there's a lot of noise at first, but slowly it drills down. You're like, hey, these are my people. These are the people who get me and I get them. And like, it'd feel better if it was in real life and they're all around. But hey, in the digital age, it's a decent second.
Yeah, we'll take it. It's a good booby prize.
All right, so the numbers are in. Harrison's getting 1.12 million. Charlie's getting 1.1 million, but there's an extra 100K up for grabs. So whoever wins will get the title and the most money.
Yeah. I was in such a good mood at this point. I think this is where Gibble says something that just made me crack up so much. There was something before as well when we were talking about the deal, and you know, I wasn't like laughing at him. I was just like laughing at the situation where he just said like, "Do you know who I am?" And Ben and I just like instantly looked at each other. We already had an in joke of other people who said that sentence and would always be like, "Do you know who I am?" We were just like, we looked at each other and just burst out laughing. And we're just like, that just like propelled the in joke even further in.
Yeah, I wasn't watching it, but I would have loved if when he said that, your response was like, honestly, no.
Yeah, I didn't want to be honest in that spot.
Wait till you get the extra 10K first.
Yeah. I mean, I also just didn't want to be rude. Like, it's not nice to be like, I don't know who you are.
I played a 1-2 home game with him summer of 2012, the year Greggy won, in our garage. Him and some of his buddies came over and we played a 1-2 cash game. I thought it was pretty cool to be playing with some champs and some other champs. But dude, even at 1-2, they took it so serious. It was great. That's, I get it. The people who like win are the people who just like, no matter what they're playing for, 5 cents, 10 cents, like they just want to fucking win.
Yeah, exactly. I have that whenever I play against Ben. Like whatever game it is, whatever the stakes, we're just like super ham against each other. To the point where like that competitive drive will then take place as well when we're playing like 100K against each other. And we want to take each other out. Like we're happy for each other if we win, but when we're in a pot together, it's where it's just like, yes. He's meant to say I agree.
Yeah, like that's not the magic word.
And it just really made me think of someone saying yes to like a proposal, like a marriage proposal.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. Oh, Gibbles.